everyone, welcome to Destiny Rocks. I'm getting ready to do some heat treatment today. I got this really amazing Jasper that I collected in Goldfield, Nevada, and it's so beautiful. It's got these gorgeous colors, and heat treatment is something that was actually done in prehistoric times, and it was done in order to not only make the rock a little lustrous, which I think was just a bonus, but it actually softened the rock so that when you were going to make stone tools, it was easier to reduce. So in archaeological record, I've actually analyzed a lot of artifacts that show heat treatment. And heat treatment, because of the luster that it creates, it's actually different from the luster from, let's say, from something, a rock that has been in the water worn, or maybe beaten down by weather and sand and gotten a polish that way. So there's different kinds of luster, and with heat treatment it creates sort of like a waxy kind of luster. So I've got a few pieces here, and I've already set up my turkey oven. Now, in prehistoric time, of course, they didn't have anything like this. So what they would do was they had an open fire in which they would somehow control the temperature and the amount of heat that this rock was getting. I haven't been able to replicate that. I have to be honest, I've tried and have not succeeded. My rocks have actually cracked or exploded when I've tried to do it, and it's not something that is very safe to do. So instead, I have found a different way to get the same result by using this turkey oven. And this one actually holds about a 22-pound turkey. And I have 2 layers already that I've started, and this is the 3rd layer. And what I do is I put a layer of sand, about an inch of sand at the bottom, and I take out the actual bin that is in here where the turkey lays. Is usually a basin that goes in here, and I take that out and I use only the electrical part, the actual oven. And I put about a layer of 1 inch of sand, and I put my biggest rocks on the bottom because that is what's going to produce the most heat. Then I cover that layer up with the sand, and I put about another inch or so of sand on top. And then I layer my second set of rocks, which are a little smaller than the previous layer. So now that I'm on my 3rd layer, I'm going to put my smaller, flatter pieces, and I've already started to put some here. I've got a few more to add to this layer, and I want to make sure that there's some space between the rocks. So not only am I creating space between the rocks by keeping about an inch of sand in between, but I'm also keeping some distance between them, so there's space in between. We don't want them to touch. Touching can sometimes get them to get too hot, they crack, so I'm keeping enough space there. Now to the last layer, I'm going to add some more sand. So we want to make sure that this part is covered, and I've got my sand here. So I'm just going to start adding. And I've actually done this a few times and have presented on this at some of the archaeology conferences. There's a few articles out there of archaeologists who have experienced with heat treatment. So this is really, really neat, and I'm so excited because in the end we should have some beautiful, very, very polished, waxy, softer rock, so that when I go to make my arrow points, it should make it a lot easier for me to work. So now I've got my whole layer, and that is enough. I've got about an inch, half an inch of coverage. I'm gonna add a little more here, but the top layer does not have to be as covered as the rest because it's gonna get the heat anyways. All right, and nothing else is gonna go on top of that. So I'm gonna now cover this up, and we're all plugged in. Now, how we heat this up has to be very controlled. And we gotta plug it here first. Let's see. And if you look at my dial, it starts at 150. I'm gonna go ahead and start my heating at 150. However, this is not gonna be the maximum heat. I'm gonna actually take it to 400. But one of the things about heat treating rocks is that we can't heat this up too quickly. It'll crack. It can crack or it can pop. If you heat it up too quickly or if you cool it down too quickly, it'll crack and pop. So I want my pieces to come out just right, and I'm gonna increase the heat by 50 degrees every hour. But before I start increasing the heat, there's moisture in the sand that I put in there. There's also moisture, believe it or not, in the rocks. So I'm gonna make sure that it's all dried out. So I'm gonna heat it at 150 for about 3 hours before I start to increase it. And then once I increase it, I'll increase 50 degrees every hour. And once I get to 400 degrees, I'm gonna let that cook for between 8 to 10 hours before I start reducing the heat about 50 degrees every hour. So as you can see, this is a very long process. Can you imagine how they must have done it in prehistoric times with an open fire and somehow controlling the heat, watching it for hours and hours on end? It must have been really, really something. But we've got an alternative, thank goodness for modern inventions, and we're gonna get the same result. So stay tuned. Remember to like, share, comment on the video, and stay tuned because we will see the end result in a few hours. Thanks. See you soon.